Man, I had no idea that this movie was even getting released. But after watching it, I can't believe I've never heard of this before. I mean, this was on Broadway, for crying out loud. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to yet another brand new movie review. And today we're hopping back on Netflix to discuss the brand new film released over there, The Boys in the Band, written and directed by Joe Mantello, based off of the Broadway play of the same name, and starring a really talented cast of performers like Jim Parsons, Zachary, Quinto, Bomer, and Andrew Rannells. A group of gay friends reunite to celebrate one of their birthdays. But when the host's potentially closeted college roommate shows up uninvited, the evening is thrown into complete turmoil and utter chaos. Before I get further into this video, I want to thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoy your stay. I am so incredibly stoked to be here on this medium discussing cinema and all things entertainment with you guys. And if you guys want to keep up to date with me and continue discussing all these fun topics, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. That way you can be the first to know whenever any of my new videos hits. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a big fat thumbs up on it by the end. I'd really appreciate that as well. So as I've mentioned, I am a huge fan of Broadway. And I love the fact that this movie was made just to get some representation into this community. I am a straight man myself, but I have had the pleasure to work with so many amazing friends from the LGBTQ community, and I was so happy to see this representation put into a big film project like this one. Now, this was originally a play that was released off-Broadway in 1968. It got its own film adaptation in 1970, which I have not seen. But then there was a Broadway revival of this same piece in 2018 for the 50th anniversary, and it featured this same exact cast that we're seeing in this film. So now we're just getting the film treatment of that Broadway revival. And this entire cast is openly gay men, and I think that's a really fantastic touch. And truth be told, I thought this movie was fantastic. I found myself actually getting really invested in these stories and these characters. Now, I realize that the comparison I'm about to make is going to be extremely apples and oranges, so just bear with me here, but I just could not put this thought out of my head. The entire time I was watching this movie, I could not help but think of the 2016 version of Fences, directed by and starring Denzel Washington, and I just found that these two films very similar stylistically and just how they're presented to us. Clearly, there are some very different subject matters between these two pieces, which is a different story in and of itself. But that was just something I couldn't help but think about watching The Boys in the Band, because this was originally a Broadway play. And usually when the play's performed, it's all taking place in one location. There's no set changes when you watch the play version. Very similar to Fences, which when you watch the movie, you'll notice that that version is also pretty contained. And that's something I really loved about The Boys in the Band. It's all taking place in one location. Sure, there's opportunities where the movie will go outside, especially with that really stylistically cool opening montage that we get. And that perhaps leads me into one of my biggest praises with this movie is the vintage feel of it. I love the vintage camera work, the vintage production design, the vintage costumes. Oh my gosh, these costumes are so cool. Just all those technicals put together made me feel like I was watching a film that was released in 1968 today. It definitely feels very old-fashioned, and it definitely feels like an old-school Broadway play from the 60s. Like I said, there's mostly one set in this movie. It's very contained. There's almost nowhere to go for these guys. And that feeling is especially looming over their heads. Not only that, but also the audience's heads, especially once we get to that very tense second half of the movie. I don't want to go into spoilers, but the way these scenes are written, this razor-sharp dialogue, this character development, it's just all so well realized. Now, speaking of performances, I gotta mention Jim Parsons. Everybody knows Jim Parsons as Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. And honestly, whenever I think of Jim Parsons, that's probably the first role I'm ever gonna think of is Sheldon. But here, Jim Parsons fucking disappears into this role. He is so awesome in this film. Jim Parsons' character Michael is a very troubled character. Someone who may not be comfortable in his own skin, maybe a little insecure, and Jim Parsons pulls this off masterfully. And I was really pulling for this character. I wanted him to find whatever it was he was looking for and then some. I felt a lot of empathy for him. Keeping on the performance side of things, as a big Broadway fan, I was really excited to see Andrew Rannells in this movie. You know, the original Elder Price from Book of Mormon. I love that show. But again, Andrew Rannells really gets to explore some range with this group. He's kind of the playboy of the bunch. Think Joey Tribbiani without all the eating, but basically. And Rannells is so great here. This character actually reminds me a lot of Whizzer from Falsettos, whom Rannells also played on Broadway. And that's just in terms of the character and their arcs. Without giving too much away, very similar. And I was so happy to see this range from him in action on film. So great here. Zachary Quinto. Where did this performance come from? I'm being completely honest with you guys here. This may be the best performance of Zachary Quinto's entire career. I'm serious. Very similar to Jim Parsons. He just disappears into this role. And if Andrew Rannells is the Joey Tribbiani of this group, this may be a weird comparison, but Zachary Quinto is like the Vito Corleone of this group. Just the way his character is introduced, the way he carries himself on screen. He honestly did remind me a lot of Vito Corleone just in terms of character traits. And similarly, Quinto commands your attention every time we see him, and he is so magnificent here. All of this acting is absolutely fabulous. There is not one bad performance in this group. Everybody was on their A game here, and they played off of each other so well. Color me surprised. I was really invested in this film. I was really invested in this story. These characters are very well realized, excellently written, very well performed, and especially that second half of the movie gets very tense. That's where things really pick up for me. Basically, when they all start playing the truth game, not gonna give anything away, but that's where the movie gets really good in my eyes. But I will say, I do have one issue with this movie, and it's kind of a nitpick. And it has to do with Matt Bomer's character. This is not to say that Matt Bomer's performance was bad at all. I think this guy is extremely talented, and he's really great when we do see him on screen here. But here's essentially what I'm getting at. Matt Bomer's two big moments in this movie basically bookend the film, and they're both with Jim Parsons. They're both really powerful moments, but that's just the thing. It's right at the beginning and it's right at the end of the movie. And then right in the middle, there's kind of this gray area where he's just kind of sitting there. I mean, Matt Bomer does get a couple of nice moments sprinkled in there, but it's like, I kind of wanted more from him. I'm just saying, when his moments do pop up in that gray section in the middle, I was just like, oh yeah, he's in this. In a sense, I kind of forgot that he was in this movie. He just kind of faded into the background, and I was really disappointed to see that. Again, this is not on Bomer at all. I think that's just some of the writing for the character, but I think he's excellent with the stuff he's given. But I don't know. I just left a little bit more to be desired from him. Because I think he's super talented, and I wanted to see him explore that character a little bit more than what was given. I mean, besides that, like I've already mentioned, color me surprised. I'm gonna give The Boys in the Band an A-. I obviously think that this is worth checking out, guys. It's on Netflix right now. Really investing characters, great performances, great filmmaking, the whole 9 yards. If you guys love Broadway like I do, and you're into that really in-depth character work along with that razor-sharp dialogue, I think this one's gonna be for you. There's some mature themes ahead in this viewing, but I think this movie addresses them beautifully and then some. But what did you guys think of The Boys in the Band? Have you guys seen it yet? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you not? I would love to hear all those thoughts down in the comments below, and I'd love to discuss them with you guys all down there. And once again, just a reminder, if you guys are enjoying my content, once again, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can so you can be the first to know whenever any of my new content hits. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a big fat thumbs up on it on your way out. Guys, you all are the best. Thank you all so much for tuning in as always. Look forward to more fun content coming to the channel very soon. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.